Welcome everybody to 24 hours of PASS session, and this session will be presented by Brent 500 level guide to career internals, and I'll be your moderator, Yusuf Kotwari. And the session is recorded and will be available for you within a week's time for the users to view it again. So, and before I give the control to the Brent, there are a couple of slides which I need to go through it. So next.
Yes, let me forget. I clicked on the wrong thing. There it goes.
If you need any technical assistance, like if you have any questions or inquiries, you can type it in the question pane on the right side of the window. And if you need to zoom in, there's a Zoom button on the top of the presentation. We would appreciate if everybody attending this session, at the end of the session, there will be a webinar questionnaire presented, and if everybody would reply to it, it would be helpful for us and the presenter to, and we'll better be able to present more. Next. This session wouldn't be possible with the generous support of our sponsors like Microsoft, Idera, Attunity, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, and SQL Sentry, and we are grateful to that. And all the sessions are free of cost to the user. And next, Brent, next.
Oh, I did. I'm on Join Past.
Oh, okay. Before this session, 24-hour session is PASS is a website, and there are a lot of other materials available, a lot of trainings, a lot of user group virtual chapters, and it gives an opportunity to network with other folks in the industries and get all the materials, technical details, and and it's a free membership, and anybody can join it. It's at www.sqlpass.org. And the last slide, which is next.
I did.
Okay.
It may take a second.
Before I present, and this will be probably the last slide, before I give it to the Brent, this is there's an upcoming SQL Pass Summit event, which is in the October, and there are more than 200 technical sessions to be presented. There are more than 4,000 attendees attending this Pass Summit event, and all the Microsoft, and you get an opportunity to meet the Microsoft engineering team who are behind the SQL Server and all the good with the SQL Server. So, and this session is available on discount, a $200 discount code, which is 24HOP200, and it's available until September 18th, 2016. So, without further ado, I'll let Brent present the session. Brent.
Thanks, Yusuf. I appreciate it. So good evening, everybody, or good morning, wherever you are, or if you're watching a recorded version of this. So a little bit about myself and my background. I originally got started as a sysadmin and then gradually moved into development. And I had a really slow, long, meandering career trying to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up. I dropped out of college, never really understood, where my destiny was until I found the SQL Server community. And I really liked the SQL Server product. I liked the people who are in this industry. But it took me a really long time to get where I am today, owning a small business, being a consultant and trainer. And as I look back, I was like, wait a minute. I could have done this way faster. There are a whole bunch of things that I could have hacked my way through if someone would have explained to me, here's how you do it. I never wanted to own a business. I like stability. I like a paycheck. I like predictability. But looking back, I'm like, wow, there's a few things that I could do to help people understand if things like consulting or owning your own small business are right for you. And that's where this session comes in, a 500-level guide to career internals. So what I'm going to talk through in here is about what success means to me and how you can replicate success by following a few simple steps. As a technical person, not going off and doing old school networking, but as a geek that likes to do technical stuff. I'm totally a self-proclaimed geek. Now in here, everything that I'm going to talk about is all available on the slide deck there. If you go to brentozar.com/go/24hop, This presentation is already up and online, and you can go download it along with the rest of the presenter slides for all the sessions at 24 hours have passed. So let's go ahead and get started. And to start, I'm going to go ahead and take off these headphones now because I don't have to listen to any of you people. Now it's all about me. Let's talk about what career success meant to me. Career success to me means, first off, doing challenging work that I love, things that are sometimes hard for me, things that push me beyond my boundaries. I don't want to do the same thing every single day. I want to be surrounded by people I admire. I want to look at my coworkers and go, wow, you're incredible. You know, how did I get the chance to ever work in a team with you? I want to work for a company that I respect. Doesn't mean necessarily that they're saving the earth or, you know, raising baby red pandas, but it just means a company that I can live with working with, that they're not doing really slimy things. Maybe more importantly, a fair trade between the number of hours that I put in and the reward that I get back. I don't want somebody standing behind me with a whip going, work harder, punch harder, knock things out. I want somebody who says, if you want to work harder, you can make more money, or if you want to work a number of hours per week, you can make a certain amount of money. And I want to be able to make that trade-off choice myself. Now, you can do all of these things, everything that I've got on the slide, whether you're working for yourself or whether you're being a consultant or a contractor or a full-time employee at certain companies. There's nothing that says you have to own your own business, and for owning your own business, it's not right for most of us. I really wish that somebody would have had the company that I want to go work for when I went off and built this thing. But at the time I was an employee, there's another thing that success meant to me. Job hunting success. Career success is one thing, the big picture of where I'm at. But when I need to get another job, the real picture of what job hunting success meant to me was not having to job hunt, was to be able to say to people that I knew in my network, hey, I'm looking for work. Does anybody have work that they can give me? And have people just bring me things and go, here, would you like to do this? This seems like a good fit for you. I know the kinds of things you like to do. I know the kinds of people that you like to work with. I know the kinds of projects that you like to take on. This fits you. Would you like it? Ooh, that is incredible success to me. That beats the daylights of having to throw my name into a whole bunch of resume piles and trying to fight my way to the top, get in front of interviews and go, trust me, I'm really smart, I know what I'm doing, and I hardly ever drop production databases anymore now that I learned. Now, I couldn't just do that though. When I was a full-time database administrator, I didn't have that kind of network that would simply bring me things. And I had to figure out how to hack my career. The reason why I had to hack my career is because I sucked at networking, and I still do. So in order to explain why I had to hack my way through networking or had to hack my way through a career, what I want you to do is grab a Post-it note or a scratch piece of paper or notepad, and I'm going to give you a 5-question quiz, and I want you to write down your score for each question. We're going to total them up at the end, so it's like a Cosmo quiz, but it's about your career instead of about your love life, which we all know, let's be honest, doesn't score very well. Maybe that's just me. First question, when I need to meet new people, give yourself 1 point if you go do Googling online and go reading someone's blog and learning more about them. 2 points if you go out and talk to other people, Twitter and Facebook, online communities, LinkedIn, Stack Exchange. 3 points if you go to other in-person events, if you go to user groups, meetups, conferences, and hope that other people will introduce themselves to you. 4 points if you go to in-person events and you have a little thing that you like to say to break the ice to other people, that you have some kind of a routine that you go through so that you can say, here's what my name is, here's where I'm from, and here's what I'm doing. What do you do? Of course, the more points you have here, the more wildly outgoing you are. Let's be honest, I certainly didn't score number 4. I still don't score number 4. When I go to in-person events, I hope that no one talks to me because I don't really like people, which sounds hilarious because you and I are probably like online friends at this point. Let's go to question number 2. What's your personal network? Give yourself 1 point if it's Ethernet and Wi-Fi, like my routers down there at the bottom. 2 points if it's a few folks that you've worked with in the past. 3 points if it's dozens of people that you've met online, but not in the database physical community, like you don't know them on a first name basis when you go talk to them at meetups or at user groups. 4 points if you have hundreds of people that you stay in touch with on a regular basis. You reach out to them. When you see them, you know them by name and they know you by name. Next question. In order to get ready for your next job, give yourself 1 point if you're not even getting ready for a job and the thought of that just absolutely terrifies you. What do you mean? Why would I get fired? What's going on here? 2 points if you tune into webcasts every now and then. Hey, you're already doing better than most people just by being here. 3 points if every month you go off and try to learn something that's outside of your comfort zone. And then 4 points if, as you learn new things, you update your resume, LinkedIn, your blog to reflect the things that you're doing right now. Next question. For your career growth, how much time do you set aside? Give yourself 1 point if you're not setting any time aside for yourself at all. 2 points if you spend 1 to 4 hours per week improving your own career, learning things, updating your resume, building a blog. 3 points if you spend a day per week doing it, and 4 points if you spend 2 days per week doing it. Now I know what you're thinking. Oh my God, how does anyone spend 2 days per week doing that? Can they even have a family? There are some jobs that actually encourage you to do that. Evangelism is a great example of that. There are people who are vendor evangelists or people who are consultants and contractors who continuously work on their blogging and presenting. Last question. How do you give back to the community? Give yourself 1 point if you don't give back to the community. You don't go to user groups, meetups, you don't talk to anybody. 2 points if you're a good attendee. If when you go to meetups and user groups, you go fill in comment forms to tell other presenters and event organizers, all of whom are volunteers doing this all on their own, how they're doing and give them constructive tips on what they could do better. 3 points if you're doing things online, like blogging, answering questions on Stack Overflow or MSDN forums or SQL Team or SQL Help on Twitter. 4 points if you're doing things in person, like helping organize SQL Saturdays, volunteering at SQL Saturdays, volunteering at the PASS Summit, helping to organize a user group. Now go through, look at your little post-it note, and add up your points. Give yourself a little total here from across those 5 questions. Now, if you have a total of 5 to 7 points, first off, I need you to think about who's responsible for your career. The problem here is that I know when I was a full-time employee, I just assumed that someone else was going to look out for me and take care of me. I was so lucky. I had some wonderful bosses along the way who would encourage my career growth. But I had one boss who sat down at one point and he said, you realize that if you're ever going to outpace me, if you're ever going to get a higher position than me, you have to switch to another company because you can't have my job. And I like my job. I'm not advancing. This particular manager said, I found the level where I'm comfortable and you're not going to get my job because I'm not giving it up. And that wasn't him being a jerk. That was him taking care of me and saying, let me tell you something, I got to take care of you so that you're successful and that you move on somewhere else where you can go do things that will make you a success. That was like the, ice water bath challenge for me mentally. I'm like, are you kidding? What do you mean? I wanted to be here for the rest of my life. But then you look at the financial numbers and you're like, if I do this, I'm never actually going to be able to retire. I'm never going to be able to buy nice things because I love that job, but it wasn't very financially rewarding. If, on the other hand, you scored 20 to 25 points, you don't need this session. You're already a networking superstar. You're doing a phenomenal job of going out, meeting people, shaking hands, following everything that the old school networking books say, and the new school networking books about doing things like presenting and volunteering. For the rest of us who fall somewhere in the middle, we need this session. And I say we because I wish I could have had this session from somewhere else. Let me tell you about 2004 Brent. This is a picture that I had someone take of me back in 2004 when I was in a cube or in a corner office, but it wasn't because I was cushy. They just had an extra corner office. Dallas, Texas. Looking at that picture, I can remember exactly what 2004 Brent's problems were. I can remember the challenges that he was facing. I can look at that bookshelf and go, I remember buying those books. I remember what I was trying to learn, all kinds of things. Having that snapshot also reminds me that I had a really hard time finding my next job. When that company wasn't able to pay my paycheck because they ran into financial problems, they skipped a paycheck and I went, oh my gosh, what am I going to go do next? I didn't have a network. I didn't have someone that I could quickly call. The economy wasn't in the best shape. And when I was trying to reach out and find new jobs, I sent out one resume after another, and I heard so many reasons about why I wasn't a good fit for this job. I didn't have a college degree. I dropped out of college. I didn't have the right architect experience. I'd never had DBA officially on my job title before. I wanted too much money. I had to be in the office 60 hours a week or else I wouldn't get the job. There were so many things that were just heartbreaking for me, even to the point where I interviewed with a prominent SQL Server community member, someone who I'm friends with still to this day. Right at the beginning of the interview, I failed the first question. And he's like, yeah, no, we're done here. Now today I know him well and we have a great time. I'm sure the guy would give me a job if I wanted it, but because I didn't know him personally, I was just at the whims of trying to answer interview questions right. That sucks. But that's not what I'm good at. What I'm good at doing is I make SQL Server go faster. All I focus on is how can I make the SQL Server engine faster and more reliable. And what I do as a part of that is I do all kinds of measurements for a living. I measure perfmon counters, DMVs, DMOs. I work with application owners to instrument their apps and understand how many batch requests per second we're doing, what our wait time looks like. I'm so good at measuring so many things, but I wasn't measuring anything about my career. I just assumed that it would take care of itself. And even the things that I did measure, today, I bet a lot of us have things like Fitbits or watches that match and track all of the steps that we take. And we're so good at saying, I got 5,000 steps today. I got 10,000 steps today. My resting heart rate is 80 beats per minute. Don't get me wrong, that's important for your health, but it doesn't really measure your career. It's not like you have some kind of device that's sitting on your watch and telling you how good of a job you did today. When I first started thinking about this, oh God, how screwed am I about measurement? The first metric that I tried to monitor was simply, how much money am I making? If I could chase jobs that paid me more money, my career must be doing better, right? Except about 6 months after I started doing that, and I took a job, my first job that was doing consulting, and oh gosh, I regretted the bejesus out of that. I wasn't surrounded by people that I loved working with. I wasn't surrounded by awesome tasks that I loved doing. I was surrounded by antacid and booze because I was so stressed out about the crappy things that I was having to do. And no, don't think that you're going to Google and figure out who that firm was. They're not on my resume anymore. Ooh. So how are we going to fix this? What we need to understand is how career internals really work, and there are 4 basic things that you have to understand if you want to go hack your career. You're going to have to measure your career the same way that you would measure a server. You're going to pick one initially, but then later more key metrics that you're going to measure over time, things that are easy to track, things that you can influence and will have a positive difference on how your career works. Second, you're going to do a few simple technical things, not meat bag things where we go around and go, "Hi, I'm Bob. I like to synergize in business." We suck at old school networking, so I'm going to show you the new school ways of networking that don't require those kinds of people skills. Third, you are going to follow what works from other industries. I know I've had some friends tell me that, "Oh, you do a great job of this branding thing. I'm going to follow and mimic everything that you do." I am a blind, or like the one-eyed man in a land of blind people. I suck at branding. I suck at marketing. It's just that I'm taking examples from other industries where people are doing amazing jobs and I'm mimicking what they do. It seems different in this industry, but it's really common in other industries, and I'll tell you who to go look at so that you can find other people to go look and mimic what they're doing. And then fourth, understanding that you are the only one who can do this for you. No one else is going to take care of your career. And I'll even tell you this to my own employees. I want you to build up a reputation. I want you to blog. I want you to present so that you can build a name for you in case something happens to my company or in case I turn into a raging jerk and you want to go work for someone else. Stranger things have happened. So step one, how do we go about measuring our career? Well, it's really hard to measure what I consider success. We talked about what career success looked like to me, doing challenging work that I love, working for a company that I respect, being surrounded by people that I admire. It's really hard to measure those and put a KPI on that. How many coworkers do I have that I like? How many coworkers do I have that I hate? Hopefully those numbers are going in the right directions. Often I don't have an influence over that. Sometimes my manager will hire people that I don't like, for example. So what I want to do is I want to measure something different. I want to measure the ability to not job hunt. This sounds really weird. How do I measure my ability to have new opportunities come to me, people bringing me new jobs? The only time I'm going to be able to count that is when people actually bring me jobs, which isn't going to happen very often. Even for the best of us, even when we have a whole lot of job opportunities, it's not like 3 people come in per day going, "Here, do you want this job?" All we get is crappy recruiter emails from recruiters like, "Hey, I need someone who knows SQL Server 2013 and has 24 years worth of experience with .NET Core," something that just came out yesterday. So the easy metric that we're going to get started with is how many people know you. And this sounds really vain. This sounds like the Instagram metric of how many people like my cat pictures, or how I'm going to just take selfies of myself all day and see how many people double tap them. It sounds vain, but there's a better way to think of this. How many people know your work and how many people follow your work? The number of blog subscribers that you have, the number of email subscribers that you have, the number of social media followers that you have, if you have a YouTube channel, the number of people who subscribe to it. And I know when you first hear it, this sounds so incredibly selfish and vain, but this is just a starter metric for the number of people who would be comfortable hiring you. And this is where your opportunities come from. There's someone from Chicago in this webcast that I'm going to use as an example, Andy Yoon. Andy Yoon I know from my user group, and I've known for several years now. And when Andy at one point was looking for a job, he happened to mention it, and all kinds of people from the SQL Server community immediately piped in and went, "Oh, you should talk to so-and-so. Oh, I can get you in the door at so-and-so." Andy didn't have to worry about whether or not jobs were posted. Doors would open for Andy when people found out that he was looking for an opportunity. You can have that same opportunity. I tell you what, 2004 Brent wishes like heck that he would have had that opportunity, because he certainly did not. 2004 Brent was not on Twitter. There was no Twitter. 2004 Brent just kind of flailed around going, how on earth am I going to find a new job? And I would post my resume in places and no one cared. So now that we've picked that metric, now that we say how many people know our work or how many people follow our work, the next thing that we need to do is figure out how to move the needle, as they say in business. The old school way of doing this was going out to networking events, going out to meetups and saying, hi, I'm Bob, I like to business and synergize. But old school networking sucks. It requires that you be physically present in a specific building at a specific time. This means giving up other things in your life that you may want to be doing at that same time. Best case scenario, when you do old school networking, you meet 10 people or 20 people and you're able to converse with them. But unless you get a whole auditorium full of people and you're able to present to all of them and hold their attention, even in this, even online, we have 98 attendees right now. That sounds awesome, but 98 people once, 24 hours pass is a really big deal to get to present to this. I can't rely on just this in order to get my next job. What I need to do is networking 2.0. Networking 2.0 means that I do something that I'm really proud of and I publish it online for free. I just put it up there and go, here's an article that I wrote, or here's a script that I built, or here's a knowledge base article on here's how you do something. And then I just tell the other people I know, here's something that I did. Now, all of those other people will promote your work for you to their network. And other people also includes Google. Every time people Google for an answer to a particular problem, they may come across your post, bookmark it, and share it with their networks too. As you do this, you're kind of rolling a snowball of content forward, or I like to think of it as the game Katamari Damacy, where you're continually building things together, rolling the snowball of objects all over the world. Every article that you post, every blog post that you make, every YouTube video that you record, these things go online forever and they get passed around from person to person. This is how you do networking in the new way. Every time that you put an hour into building content, it's evergreen and it can stick around, building your reputation forward. That doesn't happen at user groups or meetups or any kind of networking event. You go spend an hour there and whatever work you did kind of dies on the vine. So whatever you're going to write about or blog about or webcast about, record a presentation about, you want to think long and hard about the topic that you're going to pick, because this is what you're going to be known for. I used to write about things that I just thought were interesting, or I would go write about things that I thought no one else had written about. Oh, no one's written about how to do this one particular thing with IBM SANS. I'm going to go write about that. I'll be first in line whenever anyone wants to talk about it. Then I realized that when people Googled for it, that's what I would get known for. And that's not necessarily what I wanted to do with my career. So what I want to do is I want to write about things that seem easy and fun to me. Yes, of course I can performance tune a database. That seems easy to me now. And it may seem like, well, no one would want to read about that. That's easy. Nah, we'll come back to that. The stuff that you know today was not easy for the 5-year-ago version of you. And I always think about the world as kind of a pyramid scheme. As you grow up and you do better and better things with SQL Server, you're moving up the pyramid. There are less people in front of you, and there are more people behind you who don't know how to do what you did. They're all Googling trying to figure out, how is it that I could do this? Often we think, well, it's all been done. When I go out and Google for things, there are all kinds of results for that particular topic. Why would I ever write about that again? Well, do me a favor. Go down to a museum. Pick any museum, whether it's modern art, photography, sculpture, old school art, whatever, and look for flowers. You're going to see paintings of flowers, photographs of flowers, sculptures of flowers. It's all been done. There's not a kind of flower in the world that hasn't been painted or photographed or sculpted all to death. But people still keep doing it, right? And you still keep appreciating things as you see them. Ooh, I've never seen photos like that. Cat photos are another great example. God knows people still keep taking pictures of cats doing crazy things, and we're still interested in them. The subject is not the point. Your take on it is the point. Your take on it is why people are going to come to your site and read your material. Literally every subject in SQL Server has been covered. Meet my buddy, books online. But a lot of us don't want to read books online. Think for a second about which bloggers you want to read. Think of a couple few names where whenever they post a blog post, you don't really even care what it's about. You want to go read their take on it because you like the way that they write about things. Or maybe they write about things that are very interesting to you. Even though they're covered in books online, these bloggers unearth it and expose it in a new way. Take a second to think about those bloggers. And then as you think about it, think about how they might cover a topic, how they might convey it with different tools. Think about, for example, TempDB or perfmon counters or data and log files. Any given topic, think about how the different people out in the SQL Server community might cover that same topic. All of us are all going to blog about the same basic things over and over. How is Babby formed? How is SQL Server made reliable? All of us are going to cover it, though, in very different, interesting ways. For example, when I read Paul Randall's blog, I know he's going to come at it from a very internal, mechanical point of view and tell me all kinds of interesting internal mechanisms that I wouldn't have thought about before. Klaus Aschenbrenner is going to bring it to life in funny videos. He has these SQL Quickie videos where he gets out in front of a whiteboard or in front of a green screen, which is exactly what this is for. Believe I'm not a big fan of Kermit the Frog. I just do green screen training videos. Kendra Little likes to draw things in her blog posts and brings them to life with a great sense of humor and real-world experience. Pinal Dawe is everywhere. He covers everything. Sure, he doesn't go to the depths of Paul, Klaus, or Kendra, but he covers enough things that when you need a topic, he's got a quick SQL example there that you can go copy-paste and go get one quick problem solved. And then, of course, there's books online, which will usually put you to sleep. You want to have your own style and your own voice that you're able to convey topics with, and you're not going to find it easily or quickly. It's going to take a while in order to build, but you're going to gradually find it over time. And the reason why I tell you this is I don't want you to think that it's just all been done. It hasn't been done your way. Then, when you go publish your content, you want it to be free. I can't emphasize enough how important this is. The instant that you put your content behind a paywall or a registration wall, you're going to lose people. Your goal here is not to get rich, because you can't get rich until people know who you are. You have to build the reputation up first. Then you may be able to put some stuff behind a registration wall or a paywall. SQL Server Central is a great example. They have a staggeringly huge reputation, so they have all kinds of cool stuff back behind registration walls that you have to put in an email address to answer. But they couldn't have started that way. They had to gather a reputation first. I'm pretty big in the SQL Server industry too. I don't require a registration email in order to read my stuff. I put it right out there and encourage people. Go read it, give it away, take it for free. I want to make myself as easy to follow as possible. I want people to stumble into my content and go, wow, this guy hardly sucks at all. And then make it easy for them to stay in touch with the things that me and my team do. This means setting up tools like MailChimp so that users can subscribe quickly to me, getting company accounts for Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn, or even your own personal accounts when you first get started. You can publish your blog posts there. Then use tools like Buffer to automatically publish whenever you update or change your content. In my full session, we're doing a full half-day session, a workshop at the 24 Hours of PASS, or at the PASS Summit in Seattle this October, where if you come and sit in my half-day session, I'm going to give you a workbook that covers the exact mechanicals about how you set these things up. I can't cover that, of course, in a quick 1-hour session like this, but it gives you an idea of the technical kinds of details that we're going to be working on in that session. So that gives us our first two things. Now we have a metric that we're going to monitor. How many people are following our content? Second, we're going to build content with our own skills. We're good at being geeks. We're going to install software like WordPress and Buffer that will help manage our content for us. And for the third step, I need to figure out who I should go follow, who's going to explain to me how this stuff works. I am not the guy. I am the guy in this industry, but I'm going to take you to a promised land where there are much more qualified people who do this for a living. My 5 favorite resources that I think you should go through and read through before you come to the full PASS Summit session. First off is a book called The Woofy Factor by Tara Hunt. Tara explains the concept of social capital, why if you do good things for other people for free, if you just help them the same way I'm helping you now, this will pay off for your career later, I think, I hope at this point. Maybe not, who knows. Second, doubleyourfreelancing.com. Oh my gosh, this sounds like spam. And so I'll be honest, some of it is kind of spammy. But Brennan Dunn is a content marketer who shows you how you can go build up your own following and then get people to start paying you to do what you love. You may want to read this with Kleenex or something on your hand because it may feel a little slimy to you at first, but behind the salesy tactics, there's a lot of good information that we can use in order to improve our own careers. John Jantz's book, The Referral Engine, explains to you how when you go build things, you want them to automatically market themselves. For example, with tools like SP Blitz or SP Blitz Cache or Blitz Index, we wanted to make it easy enough that people could run these tools and then go hand them out to other people and go, check this out, look how easy it is for me to make my SQL server better, so that they could do our marketing for us. I see the same thing happening in the SQL server industry. People put out YouTube videos, for example, and then other people will go and share those YouTube videos. The Lean Startup by Eric Ries. Eric wrote a book about how you go and build the smallest, tiniest, easiest thing possible that it'll go off and scale by itself. You don't go try to write a whole book. You start with a few blog posts and you gradually build your way up. And then the book The Purple Cow by Seth Godin is a marketing type book. What it really explains to you is that concept of how you have to bring your own voice. You have to be different. You don't just want to be the same as everyone else. You want to truly stand out the way a purple cow stands out. I used to think that consultants all wore suits and they would all business and synergize and bring leather briefcases to meetings. So when I started going into consulting, I'm like, screw that. I want to be different. I want to be me. No one else can be me. I like wearing leather jackets and goofy t-shirts and nice headphones and goofy bags. I want to go do those things. And people who like that kind of thing will hire me. People who want a suit can go get a suit. I am never wearing another suit again. I say that, and then somebody's going to invite me to a wedding, and then I'm going to have to wear a suit because it's going to be in a nice place. Please don't invite me to your weddings. Don't get married. I say that. I got married. I'm very happy, wonderfully happy. It's fantastic. But do what I did and go to Vegas. Elope, drive through a wedding, and you're done. I didn't choose that, by the way. My wife chose that, and that's why I'm married to her. She's awesome. Fantastic. Then how you go about, now that we've uncovered why you want to do these things, then our resources for how you go do these things. First off, I've got a big, long, epic blog post. It's going to scare the bejesus out of you when you open it. brentozar.com/go/blog tells you how you pick a domain name, how you buy a WordPress host, what plugins you go install, what you should write about, and when you should publish your blog posts. Man, holy cow, it's long. You're not supposed to read the whole thing in one sitting. You're just supposed to use it as a starting point for the worksheet process, which we're going to use as a jumping off point in our half-day session at the 24 hours or at the PASS Summit. I've also got my favorite WordPress themes up there. You can find all kinds of gorgeous themes over at themeforest.net. You can then look for themes that are responsive, meaning they're going to work well both on laptops and mobiles and tablets. And then there's the excellent book On Writing by Stephen King that tells you how writers work. And it's so eye-opening. I used to think that writers had some special skill. And Stephen King really lays down that it's like a process that you just sit down at the word processor, start cranking things out, and reading what other good authors are doing, and you're going to get better. Your first work is going to suck. I read my old blog posts and I cringe in horror. A little while ago, my wife happened to end up reading one of my 5-6-year-old blog posts, and she goes, "Man, let me tell you, you've gotten a lot better at writing over the last 5 or 6 years." That brings us through the first 3 rules in this process. Now we're coming to come to the last one. You are the only one who can do this for you. What I want you to do is take a picture of yourself in your work office today. Either have a friend of yours take a picture or set your phone up on self-timer, but get the phone far enough back that you can get context of what's in your office, what books are in your office, what you're reading, what project work is piled up on your desk, your favorite coffee cup. Because I want you to remember this moment. 2, 3, 4 years from now, you are going to be blogging for the current you. You are going to be writing for what today's guy found challenging. Just like if you can go pull a picture of yourself from 3, 4, 5 years ago, in a perfect world, you pull it from your work environment. If not, just something at home where you can vaguely remember what you were doing and what work problems you were facing at that time. That is your blog audience. Now you are writing for you, and the work that you're going to have to do in order to set up your online presence and do this passive networking looks kind of like this. I've broken it out into days. I do not expect you to do this 12 days in a row. You can't. None of us have 12 days straight of free time. And I'm not saying that you can do each of these in exactly one day. If you wanted to roll up your sleeves, you could do all of these in one day. You would do a crappy job of it, and you would be sweating bullets by the end of it. The idea here is to give you a few 3-4 hour tasks that you're going to be able to knock out in spare time in one day. For me personally, for example, my time to go work on my blogging and my career is Saturday and Sunday mornings before my wife wakes up. I usually work, and this sounds weird, but from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. each weekend morning, just polishing my own career skills or things that I want to go learn next, doing stuff like what's on the screen. At the 24 hours of PASS, we're going to cover the mechanics of how you walk through this process. Now, if you have 12 days worth of work to do, if you can only do it 1 day per weekend, this is going to take you 3 months. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's this great saying that the best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree is right now. The third best time to learn how to say that is 15 minutes before this presentation started. You just have to roll up your sleeves and start it at some point. Have a task list of what you have to go do and know what that finish line looks like. It's fine if it takes you 1 to 3 months. It's better off than what you had yesterday. And this isn't the final finish line. This is just your starting point where you have 5 blog posts queued up You're not going to publish them until you've written the 5th one, because I want you to be able to schedule one per week so that it builds up a regular readership. Nothing about this is easy. It's going to take 1 day per weekend, or if you really want to crunch it, 2 days per weekend. Those of you who are young and single and no kids, go for 2 days per weekend. Trust me, it's better than getting drunk at the bar. Because what you get at the end of this is the ability to make the choice yourself. How much work do you want to put in? How hard do you want to work? And when do you want to start taking time off? When you finally cross this finish line, believe me, it is incredibly worth it. I just last month got back from spending a week in Alaska with my dad and my stepmom. It's not that I don't like my stepmom. She was taking the picture at the time. The ability to say, these are the times when I want to take off because it's important to me, and to be able to afford to do those life experiences that really matter. What matters isn't things. What matters isn't houses or cars or racetrack time. What matters is experiences, things that you can remember and share with other people. Everyone you love is getting older. Everyone is running out of time. You are running out. I want you to be able to start making these trade-offs so you can start spending your life, the time that you enjoy, doing the things that you love with the people that you care about. Don't wait until you're 65 thinking that you're going to retire. You're going to be in bad shape then. Instead, I want you to be in a career position where you can take time off during your regular career life. And if you want to take off a month-long sabbatical and go do other things, to have the ability to do that. That's what hacking your career means to me. That's what we're going to talk about at the 24 Hours of Pass. Everything that I've just talked through here is all available at that slide deck, brentozar.com/go/24hop, along with all the other slide decks from the other sessions with the 24 Hours of Pass. So now it's time for questions. Go ahead and type in your questions over in the question window, and Yusuf will go ahead and ask those out loud here. Let's see what you guys have got.
Hi, Brent. I've got a few questions. The first one came in is, what was the interview question you failed to answer? It's from Dan.
Oh, what a great question. The interview question I failed to answer was, the guy said, if you were going to go build a monitoring tool for SQL Server, what would you do? Where would you start? And I said, no, I wouldn't. I'm not a developer. I don't build monitoring tools. And I'm not going to use something that's off the shelf from open source from somebody because I need support. I suck at development. I'm not going to troubleshoot it myself. I'm going to go buy something off the shelf. The interviewer said, what do you mean? You're supposed to be good at SQL Server. Wouldn't you go grab an open source product? And I said, no, they're nowhere near as good as what third-party tools are out there. The interviewer said, I wrote an open source monitoring tool for SQL Server. Do you know about mine? And I said, no, and even if I do, are you going to give me your home phone number so you can support it when it breaks? And he goes, well, if you come to work here, yeah. And I said, exactly. Otherwise, unless I work here, I'm not going to have your home phone number. How am I going to troubleshoot this thing? That was the end of that interview right there. The guy was heartbroken that I just wouldn't go grab an open source monitoring tool off the shelf.
Okay. The next question comes from Todd. Hi, Brent. I want to transition from being a senior DBA to become a newbie data scientist, career 1.5. I am like a cat curious but scared to death. Tip on documenting my trial and tribulations. I'm afraid of looking like a total knob in my writing.
Yeah, totally, and you're right. So two things that are important here. First off, when you're going into the data science market, you are competing with every college graduate who just got out and is desperate. These people have a ton of learning about calculations, formulas, algorithms, machine learning, and they are broke. They're facing college debt. So you're going up against people who are willing to work really cheap and are highly educated on open source tools that have been coming out fast and furious. So you're trying to merge into an expressway full of drivers who don't care about you and are willing to cut you off. That is a tough market. Sounds exciting, and it is highly paid in some niches right now because it's hard to get people who really have that experience. The companies that are paying a lot for data scientists want someone with proven experience, and it's just a supply and demand problem. There's not a lot of people with proven experience, including you. So that's the first thing where I warn people when you're going into data science, make sure you're understanding what you're getting into. Second, being afraid to blog about your trials and tribulations, this just is what it is. We blog all the time. I blog about things that I'm doing that are stupid or my bad idea genes, and if you go back through my blog, there's all kinds of things where I'm sharing things that, oh, I learned this today, this didn't look so smart. That's totally normal, and it's totally to be expected. If you go to ozar.me, which is my personal blog, at ozar.me, search for imposter syndrome. There's this thing in IT where we all feel like we're kind of imposters, like we're faking what we're doing. And I've got a blog post about why sharing things online makes you feel really vulnerable to imposter syndrome. And I give a few examples and quotes from people who are creators, people like Adam Savage out of Mythbusters, that talk about how they conquer imposter syndrome. All of us suffer from that. I totally suffer from that. I still feel like I'm an idiot. It's just that I'm like 2 pages ahead in the book as opposed to most other people.
Okay, the next question is, I use O365, not as good for blogging purpose, but I would bet more secure than WordPress for sure, from Jana.
Okay, cool. Good luck with that. So the thing is, WordPress runs over 51% of the web. Over 51% of the world's websites are running on WordPress. It is phenomenally successful. O365, great for email. You can even do online SharePoint. Great for promoting your blog, not at all. So while it may be a little bit better technically, which I would even tend to doubt, even if it's better technically, you're just not going to get any exposure on it.
What is love to, okay, from Michaela, love the Oracle jacket.
Yes, so I'm a huge fan of the Oracle racing sailing team, and so not as much of a big fan of the database. Database is really cool, it's just way too expensive for what it is. A lot of folks don't know Oracle Enterprise Edition is $47,000 per core. $47,000 a core. It's not like people ever spend sticker price on Oracle, but you wonder where all that money goes. And then Larry Ellison has this cool racing team, sailboat racing team, all kinds of cool yachts, bought himself an island in Hawaii. So as a career guy, I really admire Larry Ellison, and his sailboats are awesome. But so I wear a lot of Oracle clothes.
Okay, this will be the last question of these here. What is the difference between a junior and a senior DBA? What makes a senior DBA?
What makes a senior DBA is really specialization in certain subject areas. People usually think that a DBA just knows everything in the box product. That just doesn't work. SQL Server is a box product. The box has just gotten way too large. It's like a ginormous cereal box, and Microsoft keeps throwing free toys in the cereal box. How about some integration services, reporting services, analysis services? How about some R, some Polybase, some Azure? You name it, it's in the box, it's free. You can't know all of them. What I look for in a senior DBA is deep specialization in certain areas. So if you tell me you're good at something, that you've got 5 years or 7 years of experience with it, I want to be able to ask you advanced questions in that subject area and see you do fairly well. I do not expect a breadth of knowledge across everything in the box product, but whatever you say you specialize, I expect a good depth of knowledge in that. A friend of mine, Buck Woody, likes to say that do you have 10 years of experience or do you have 1 year of experience that you've done over and over again? You're not learning anything new. Senior DBAs have 5 to 10 years of different experiences along the way.
One more question, Brent. How long did it take from the beginning of your effort till the time when it was profitable?
So the best way to show that is if I jump back over to the About Me slide. This is what I had the years in here for. So I started blogging in '99. I built a website, wickedlife.com, back in 1999 and started blogging, and then figured out in 2000, oh, I should do this with my name on it instead of like some trendy domain name. And so it's like 0 to profitability in just 10 years. Realistically, I think that my blog helped me get the job at Quest Software as an expert. So 8 years of fumbling around like an idiot, like in the backseat of a car in high school. If I would have done what I'm describing to you guys to do, I would have been able to pull it off in, say, 2 years. This is what that 500 level workshop is all about at PASS. How can I cram this knowledge into you as quickly as possible and give you repeatable steps to do, where within the span of 2 years, you can be comfortable with having people bring work to you.
Okay, one more question. If going to the user group to network is not useful, then how you volunteer and give back to community? I assume you mean build yourself up first and then volunteer?
You can totally do both. It's just that you only have so much time in the day. And if what's important to you is breaking out of a crappy career, then we got to focus on that metric of how many people follow your work. If you're lucky enough to be in a career that you love and be comfortable in it and have a good network, then please go volunteer for your local community events. It makes a huge world of difference. But otherwise, I would argue that you should focus on building up your presence online first. A job, it's like that great Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Maslow was a psychiatrist back in the 60s who wrote this hierarchy of needs. Everything's a pyramid scheme. Down at the bottom is things like food and sleep. If human beings haven't eaten in 72 hours or they haven't slept in 24 hours, the quality of their work is going to be horrific. You have to take care of things at the base level of your pyramid before you go higher and do things like creativity and spontaneity. So the same thing with community work. I would say you need to take care of the basic level, which is get yourself a website, start writing about what you know online, take care of that so that if you get fired, you have someone to call. That's the biggest thing that I'm worried about.
Okay, the next question, what gave you the confidence to start speaking at the event in front of a lot of people? Did someone inspire you, or did it come to you over time?
Oh, what a great question is that. And this is going to be kind of the weirdest answer in the world for this. So I sat in at my first user group meeting, and I watched someone else present, and they sucked. Oh, did they suck. They didn't know what they were talking about, and they didn't know how to talk about it. And I looked at the crowd of people, there were maybe 50 people in the room, and I looked at these people who came in, and I talked to one of the other people, and I said, you know, is this the kind of presentation we usually get at this user group? And the guy goes, oh, yeah. And I went, man, if that guy sucks this bad and doesn't know what he's talking about, I could get up there, and I won't feel guilty. I wasn't good, I sucked as a presenter initially, and I didn't know what I was doing back then. But the community is so thankful for people who are willing to share. User group leaders every month are looking for people. How can we get local presenters to step up to the microphone and start talking? They will help you. The way that your local user groups do this is they'll give you 5 minutes to talk at the beginning of a session, just to have a really short slide deck. If I was you, I wouldn't even have a slide deck. I just have a list of, here's something that I did recently and something that I learned. Just stand up in front of the room and talk about this. Hey, this month I deployed always-on availability groups. Something that I learned that was really important is that I need to test an unplanned failover. If I don't test an unplanned failover, this kind of thing is going to happen. Does anybody have any questions? And when someone asks you a question you don't know, say, I don't know. There's nothing wrong with that. I use that phrase more than probably anything else during the day. I have no idea. But here's where I would go to find out. Just having that open, casual 5 minutes of stand-up in front of a user group is going to at least get you used to standing up in front of people. I was going to say you'll find out if it's for you or not. I don't think standing up in front of people is for anybody initially. It's something that you just have to do and get used to. The other thing that I would say is spectacular is learn with your team. Get your entire team, like other people who work with you at the company, in a conference room for a lunch one day and play one of the recordings from the 24 hours of PASS. Just play through the technical piece. You pick the session ahead of time, and it needs to be something that you know well. At the end of it, you ask the team, do you guys have any questions about that? People will have questions. I like doing this in front of developers. Here, let me show you a video about performance tuning. They'll ask me questions. Then anything that I don't know, I'm writing down the questions. I will come back to them the next week, and I will deliver a short recap of here's what the answers were to those questions that I didn't know last week. So that way it kind of breaks you into presenting in a room full of people that you already know well.
Okay, we are towards the end of the time, so probably I'll give Brent all the questions which are in the queue, and probably he can blog on the his site or probably email from the list.
Yeah.
So,
sounds good. Sounds good. Well, thanks everybody for attending. I really appreciate you hanging out with me over the last hour, and see you at the next session of 24 Hours of PASS.